Hello everyone, is there anyone out there to have any queries? I'm Dr. Shaina Saif and my paper is Social Policy and Planning. If you have any queries, mm, okay, as I have started this paper that was social policy and planning, and the paper social policy is particularly focused on the support for well-being of citizen, which is provided through social action, and in how society promotes the welfare of individuals. So it is multidisciplinary because it takes instances or it draws attention from various other disciplines like history, sociology, geography, and political science. So, the objective of this module or this paper was to facilitate the understanding about the main concepts and definitions used in the study of social policy, what were the various schemes and programs, how planning is done for the betterment of the society, and giving a very theoretical perspectives and framework. And it also helps the readers, the learners, the students to understand the main concepts about social policy, and thereby providing their input, suggestions, and also a space for critical evaluation at later stage. So if you we all know that initially, if you look into the brief part, if I would like to summarize the basic concept and objective, initially social policy was known as social administration, and it has its roots in the 19th century, and this has changed from social administration to policy part of it, or social policy, which meant a dramatic shift, and it felt that administration only focused on the analysis of how welfare services are being operated, but the word policy encompasses a more larger and broader understanding. It gives a holistic analysis of the political as well as ideological basis for welfare provisions. In fact, the history of social policy is closely taken from Fabian politics, where critical analysis of the existing socioeconomic problems in Britain led to the ushering of social protection throughout the state. And it was then realized that the state-led policies, interventions were necessary to provide the forms of support and protection which would be more feasible for the people to, to bring about a safe and secure environment. So, in fact, in the early days, the subject of social policy was primarily concerned with what William Beveridge, the chief architect of the British welfare state, had termed the five giants. And these giants were like poverty, ill health, poor housing, insufficient education, and unemployment. And so, thus, over the course of the post-war period, social policy analysts and academicians they began to identify the gaps in the Beveridgean welfare state, and they highlighted the instance, the persistence of poverty amongst various other reasons. So these criticisms reflect not only a concern with the focus of the academic subject, which began to draw much more ideas from sociology, political science, and adopted a more critical perspective. Then, if Then from the welfare concept, from the welfare state emerged the idea of social policy. Welfare state provides protection, it safeguards the interest of the population. And when we say welfare state, where the state is more obliged to provide necessary benefits to the population in terms of health, in terms of housing, in terms of education, in terms of provisions for employment, creating employment opportunities, bringing a more looking into the well-being of the population at large. So from the idea of welfare state emerged the concept of social policy, because the word policy, it denotes the principles that govern action directed towards any given ends, and therefore can imply change. So policy, particularly social policy, is more of an action oriented. It can be seen, or it is being seen as an instrument of change, as a part of political process, and it is associated with altruism, and it benefits various different vulnerable sections of the population. So it has been defined, it has three main, in fact, it is defined to look into, or it is considered to be principles, guidelines, course of action, which is directed for the well-being and the welfare of the people. So first of all, there are three main characteristics or assumptions associated with the policy part. Firstly, it aims to benefit by directing welfare for the citizen. Secondly, it includes economic as well as non-economic objectives, and it also has some level of progressive redistribution in command from, that is, the resources are being taken from the rich and evenly distributed to the poor. Now, if you look into the three important models, there are three important models of a social policy: the residual welfare model, the industrial achievement performance model, as well as the institutional redistributive model of social policy. Now, if you look into the residual welfare model, it is based on the premise that individuals' need can be only fulfilled via two channels, that is the private market and the family, and it is only when both these systems break down and welfare should be made available, that too temporarily, and by saying that the true objective of welfare state is to teach people how to live without it. So the theoretical base of this model can be traced back to the days of English poor laws. Then the industrial achievement model, this model places social welfare in a very significant position. It acts as supplements to the economy, and the basis of it remains that social need must be met based on market, work performance, and productivity. So its theoretical base lies in theories that looked at incentives, effort, and rewards, along with the formation of class loyalties. And then the institutional redistributive model, this views social welfare as an important institution that is part of the society, providing the universalist services outside of the market, and it is based on the principle of social equality, and it is meant to incorporate system of redistribution in command over resources and time. Now, if we look into the part, the various aspect of that, why social policy is necessary, and what are the various factors, because the functions of social policy is more of a preventive, it is more of a protective, that is, it provides relief from deprivation, preventive, which averts deprivation, such as insurance schemes, and promotive, which is meant to be to enhance the income as well as capabilities, as well as transformative, which means to promote social equality, inclusion, and rights. So if you look into this part, this what social policy particularly deals in, how people it should how the state is being obliged. So welfare, we had discussed about the welfare part of it, and what are the various principles of policy, like social policy: equality, equity, equal opportunity, needs. We had discussed in the lecture series about the equality part, that achieving equality underlines social policies. Resources had to be distributed evenly and fairly in order to achieve equality. That is, and equality has different connotations, like equal opportunity, equal outcome, equal treatment. Then we have needs. Again, needs are very important, and basic needs are food, care, food, shelter, housing, and this is essential in order to look into the people's needs and expectation and the needs which are being covered by the state. Then freedom and rights, then there are civil rights, which means the absence of arbitrary arrest and detention, but having freedom to discuss any opinion. Then we have social rights, which means social welfare and social security, right to education. We have political rights, including voting and joining political parties, freedom to explain opinion in a democratic manner. Then social justice, which was another principle. Everyone in the society will have equal rights, and तो कब से So yes, I was talking about the principles which are important. Like I was discussing about freedom of rights, social justice, social inequality or social equality, social balance, then social peace. Again, it is ensured through policies aimed at eliminating the factors that lead to the deterioration of balance within the social structure, right? And the policy should be implemented in order to eliminate the negative effects or consequences on the society. Then we talk about social integration, which also refers to the minimization of political and economic factors which might affect unity and solidarity in society. So education, culture, moral values are issues that affect social resolutions in this sense. Then when we say social policy and social policy and planning, they become very important, and in the same part of it, when we talk about social planning. And social planning is again the process by which policy makers, legislators, the government agencies, planners, even often the funders, they try to solve community problems or improve conditions in the community or in the society by devising and implementing policies intended to have certain rules, certain goals and objectives. So social planning is a part of policy part, because it is that process by where policymakers, they themselves are being involved, and these policies may take the form of laws, regulations, incentives, programs of services. There's a wide range of possibilities. So a community or society may adopt a regulation, particularly in terms of any laws, any trying to protect the public from any kind of eventualities. So it can be said that planning is another important plan part, and it is very crucial to bring policies into in the implementation field. So it is social planning is particularly it is about how you plan out uh, hmm. So it helps to understand when you do the planning part of it. It actually bring about balance in the society, and planning can be used to enhance or further the goals which would be related to welfare, or which is related to bring about certain changes, intended structural changes in the society, which would benefit the larger population. And in fact, if you look into why there is always a participatory process in planning part. When we have this participation, like society's involvement or community participation, it is more likely to make up the policy which is more effective. It leads to community ownership and support system. it helps bring about, when the community people are engaged in planning part. So it helps provide opportunity to educate the policymakers, to help the people to understand what it would be, and how planning is being done. So if you look into, the social policy, as I said, that planning and policy both are very important. So there's certain characteristics which we had discussed, that is a positive instrument of change. It invests in inclusiveness. It focuses on collective intervention. And there are certain objectives of policy, also social policy, that is Titmus, he said that social policies are directed towards human welfare, meeting the human needs, and it transfers resources. So, and there are certain goals which I had discussed. Then there is the principles of solidarity, like principles of social policy, like principles of solidarity, which has emerged in 19th century, implies, and solidarity implies mutual contract among social groups, family, clubs. And in this context, the principle of solidarity, it reinstates the need for providing support, which is based on mutual cooperation, networking, and collective action. Then there is principle of equality. Subsidiarity is another principle, where people are into their, they are the stakeholders in the decision making process. When people are given the role of actors and civil society actors to come together to resolve an issue. Okay, so when we talk about the scope also of social policy, it is about welfare, that the welfare denotes well-being as well as range of services provided in the state. It is concerned about understanding the realities, the existing situations, and how it could be, and how they could change the existing situations. It is, of course, concerned with the various social, issues and concern. So this is what social policy had had been discussing about social policies. Then we had also discussed about the process of social policy, that what are the various stages of policy process, like need to first identify the problem identification is there. Then there is agenda setting that focuses on the attention of mass media, public officials. Then policy formulation, the development of policy proposals by various interest groups, and then officers or committee members. Then policy legitimation, that is selection and enactment of policies through political actions by the executive legislatures. Then policy implementation, the implementation of policies through organized bureaucracy, public expenditure, and then policy evaluation by government agencies themselves. However, there are certain, there are various other ways. In fact, there are basic linkages in the policy framework for a systematic analysis of the information and its usage in the political policy related context. So there had been a lot of processes and ways of policy formulation, like as I mentioned, that you need to identify the problem, what determining policy alternatives, then forecasting and evaluating those alternatives, policy selection, policy implementation, policy monitoring, policy outcome, policy evaluation, and how do you need to evaluate design evaluation. So this is how you make certain, or these are the various stages or the process of policy process. And then I had also discussed about the various roles of how the role, in terms of what kind of policies are there, like health policy. I had discussed in detail about health policy, education policy, environmental policies, and I had also discussed about child and women welfare. Mm. Okay, I've discussed about the welfare part of it, like welfare of children and minorities, welfare of youth, the welfare of old age, and these were the certain. If you look into the lecture series, I gave a very comprehensive understanding of what how policies are being made, constructed, how they are being implemented. I even mentioned in the planning part that how planning is done and what are the various policies and ways to understand policy framework, a deeper understanding of the historical background of the policy. Also, I had discussed at length about the planning procedures, the historical aspect of welfare as well as policy making system, and the various updated schemes and programs which has been initiated for the welfare and for the well-being of Indian population since for the past 30-40 years. And it all has been, everything has been discussed in detail in my lecture series. So I would like to conclude now, and if there are any queries, if there are any questions, you are free to ask. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.